Hello and welcome to this week's panel long video. As you can see, I got this base coated and ready to go to work on kind of that bodice and also the dress here. And I've got, so this is basically deep red plus a little bit of clear magenta and necromancer purple. And then all of this that's a lot lighter here is the necromancer purple, just because I liked how that looked, and so I just continued it on the rest, because I will be doing sort of a stormy look. On kind of that more cloudy area that it gets into. But today we're going to work on just the bodice and the dress pretty much. We're going to bring it up using some mixes of necromancer purple with a little bit of the deep red, clear magenta, and runic glow to start. And the runic glow helps add in some pure white, basically. Well, not pure white, but it adds in some white color so that it will actually lighten up the magenta colors. And clear magenta and the other colors are going to help bring this back to a red violet. I used the deep red in order to just kind of get us away from the red violet of the hair a little bit, just so that it wasn't going to end up basically looking exactly the same, especially because back here on the side it's going to be right next to each other. We might still run into that, but we will see. In which case we'll do some lining. Bring that blue liner back in and kind of do some lining around between the two to help add in enough contrast. Another option would be to take one darker than the other or one lighter than the other. And in that case, it's the values of the two colors that are creating the contrast rather than the dark color of the liner. It's just a different way to create the same contrast, basically. And these areas here that I did, obviously with the deep red, so it's darker, you can tell, because it's darker than over here. I will go ahead and highlight it up like the rest. It may end up getting covered because later on when I do all of this, I'll probably do a little bit of glazing or layering of some sort to sort of create sort of a blended effect. I want to bring back the teal color a bit down here play into the idea that it's an Genie air-based. And so maybe do kind of like a stormy cloud type thing. So basically try and create the look of clouds more so. But since I'm already using like kind of a purplish color of sorts, red violet, mixed with a bluish of sorts, teal, could or will probably create a similar effect of a stormy cloud. I am gonna do probably 2 or 3 layers just because magenta is just that pigment does not cover very well. I had to do probably 2 or 3 coats of the base coat to get it to cover. Sorry, I have a cat who is behind me attacking things. So if there was a lot of weird sounds, that was what that was. And I'm kind of thinking of this as like a sash either made out of the same fabric or like even part of maybe the dress. So that is kind of my thoughts for why it is the same color. And then of course I will be obviously doing the tassel there in different color. Haven't decided yet. We'll see what color I feel I need to have more of, or what would work as an accent color. Alright, I'm going to go up to the next color. Quick show you the mixes here. So that's that deep red with just like a drop of clear magenta and necromancer purple. This is going to be more of a 50-50 deep red necromancer purple. Also clear magenta and about a drop, probably of a drop or two of runic glow to lighten it up. This is going to be mostly necromancer purple and clear magenta and runic glow, about equal parts almost of each of those three. And then this is going to be pretty much about 50-50 of runic glow and clear magenta. The greens are for something else that I was working on this morning, so you can ignore those. Those are not going on this mini. You want to keep your highlights with rounded surfaces. You want to keep them rounded. So you can see that I'm doing almost like a partial, not even a full circle. Do a little bit of highlighting back here. Probably not much more than that, just because that would be all the light that might get to it. Be like just any reflected light would be all really that would get to it. And then back here we need to think about, so there's this sword. It's going to be right diagonal across the back here. So one, this is in shadow, especially right there. And then there will be hard to get it to show. So if we pretend that this is the sword, there's a natural shadow going all the way to there. Which this is probably about similar. similar thickness, maybe. We will put at least a little bit of this here because this is not as much beneath the hair or anything else. And just, again, for the same reason as this little corner there, of there'd be a little bit of light that maybe could get in to shine on that a little bit. Of course, if you are trying to do more of just like a average table ready thing, you could totally just ignore, you know, like those areas that are in dark shadow. Your players probably wouldn't be any the wiser unless you have players who judge miniature painting contests, in which case then never mind. I'm doing a second coat. As I mentioned before, magenta doesn't cover very well. It's not nothing to do with Reaper paint. It's just the pigment. The actual pigment does not. Something to do with the sizing of the actual particles themselves. That's all I can actually remember from what I've learned from an actual paint chemist. If that is something that you like to know about, or that is like, oh hey, that is helpful to know, and you want to learn more, I highly recommend checking out Reaper's Twitch channel. They have a show called Reaper Pro Tips or Toolbox Reaper Pro Tips, something like that. I think a lot of us tend to just call it the Pro Tips or Ann show because that's the painter Anne, and she used to make all of the paints for Reaper. So she is very knowledgeable in that area. She's also a very talented painter though too. So a lot of stuff I've learned from her. So highly recommend that channel, or you can catch their VODs and try to just learn whatever random tidbits she ends up talking about based on people's questions or things she was thinking about recently. Alright, now we're going to go up to the final highlight, which is, again, mostly Runic Glow and Clear Magenta. I'll go down here so that's still a little light up there. And since this is what, at least for now, what I'm thinking is the highest highlight, you want to focus really in on just where the light hits directly. We'll do a couple coats of this as well. So you can see how much it helps to use even just a different shadow color, even though a lot of the other colors are very similar to what I used in the hair. The shadow color is completely different because I used blue liner in the hair for a shadow color. Okay. I think that's looking pretty good. I do want this to stay kind of more on the dark side, just like the hair, but you know, just slightly different from the hair so it'll still stand out, which I think we did manage to do, especially here. It's more in shadow anyway, so that kind of helps because this is less in shadow than that actually. You can kind of see that's the same. So that just in the way it's sculpted helps out a lot. Excuse me. And then also, as I mentioned, starting with a different shadow color helped that a lot too, because then we already had some of that blue liner, which is what I would have used, as I mentioned earlier, to create enough contrast if we were needing more contrast. Yeah, and then we still have some of that shadow color showing, as you can see. So then we still have some contrast in the dress. Shadow, top. We could always push it more. I think I'm going to stop there with it. But yeah, so that's where we are at for this week. She's getting really close. I hope y'all have a good week, and I will see you next week for the next Analon. All right, bye.